how did the interest of like radio come about?
You know what? It actually, radio had never been a thought.
As for most of us.
Yeah. Of course, I always listen to the radio. It's kind of a no-brainer when you're in the car, right? It's like the first thing you put on or it's already on. But I am in entertainment. Like acting was my passion. Always performed when I was younger in our community, in the Pacific Islander community. And then I happened to be in a singing competition for Pacific Islanders. And the barbecue show with Joe Sav and Q had interviewed me. You know, since they focus on Pacific Islanders and what it is that they're doing in their lives, and we just so happened to be interviewing, and they were looking for another personality, a female personality in particular, and they liked the way I bantered, I guess, during the interview.
Right. You know, the most critical thing in radio, if it's going to be talk centric, or at least during an interview, is to give.
Oh, yes. Dead air is like death itself.
Right. I mean, there's points where you can have silence where it's like,
it's filled still, right?
I don't know about divorce. And then everyone's silent about it because there's contemplation. And you give the listener a real moment to like, okay, what are they going to say next? Mm-hmm. But as far as for singing, traversing into acting, and then with Joe and them, like, what was that twinkle that got you into acting and singing?
I think it was how comfortable they made me feel, and everyone around them. The team itself, it felt like it was a family, and that's something that was very familiar to me, coming from a family-centric community, being Pacific Islander, being Samoan, and that's. Moving from Samoa to the States was a big culture shock for me.
So you're an immigrant?
Yes.
So am I.
Am. Yeah. Yeah. So with that said, there isn't a lot of opportunities, especially in mainstream, to feel that welcome, you know, that sincere, genuine feeling of being welcomed and feeling like you're part of a family right away.
Right.
Yeah.
But don't you think that's the true reason behind like BET? Where black folks need their outlet, as Filipinos do, as Samoans do, and there's this big controversial thing with Stacey Dash, where she talks about like there shouldn't be a BET, and I think the reverse of that.
I agree. I think there needs to be a BET. I think also though we shouldn't be so sensitive when it comes to maybe WET, if one day, you know, like white entertainment television, right. You know what I mean? And if we're looking for equality and equal opportunity, then it needs to go all a way through the board. You know what I mean? Not just, well, we need BET, we need Telemundo, and we need Pacific Islander television, and screw the white guy now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that feeling of being a minority shouldn't even be a word anymore. I mean, especially in the United States, and that's what I agree completely with you in that sense. You know what I mean? It's like, well, we know what it feels like being minority, to feel like a minority, right?
Right.
It has that negative connotation to it. It's like, oh, being the minority. It's like, well, okay, well,
right.
It's like being cussed at half the time.
Right. Per capita and quotient numbers, you know, everything's traversing and growing. It's no longer like 60% Caucasian or whatever Eastern European descent or just Euro descent. That's changed. And for the barbecue show, were you already following them beforehand, or when?
You know what? I had heard about them, and I had actually, before the project had even ever started, I had met Joe Sav during the tsunami relief for Samoa, and he had brought up the idea about starting an internet radio program that
God bless the internet,
right?
huh? God bless the internet, Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. And that was like their birth child, you know, and they had talked about it, him and Q, and then probably a year later, I saw it. And it was so awesome. And he was just like, I don't know about this. I'm not really sure about it, but it seems really exciting and it's a new frontier. I never even thought about radio.
Right.
They weren't even trained in it as well. You know what I mean? And they just had a certain calling for it. And yeah. So when it happened, I'm like, oh shoot. Now being being Samoan, a lot of the times we tend to say things and don't follow through. And I hate to generalize in that sense.
That's the Islander thing, man.
Yeah. Like we have all these great ideas, right? But
the coconut tree and this breeze is hindering me from doing progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like life is too good every day. No.
Right.
Why even, it's always that being comfortable and settling and, hey, today will take care of today, tomorrow will take care of tomorrow. So when they actually followed through, it was so impressive to me and it was such an inspiration. And yeah, I have to say that I was drawn to it for the idea, but I didn't really believe that it would happen since I've heard so much when it comes to our community trying to start things and then not following through.
I'm learning so much from you right now about the congruence of Pacific Islander life. It's exactly the same thing where, hey, an Argentinian is different from a Brazilian and a Colombian is different from a Mexican. But we all are of that continental heritage, right? And by both geography, no, you don't need to.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
Okay.
I'm down to it. Thank you, though. That's the radio in you. You're good. Thank you. What was it like when you found out that we're moving from Samoa? And now we're going to the U.S. And I assume this is probably like when the internet wasn't as savvy, used in a savvy method.
Yeah, it's not very prominent in Samoa, especially when I was moving away. We didn't have the opportunity or internet cafes per se to have it just at hand whenever we wanted. So when I was moving or had the opportunity to come to the U.S., we call it back home the mainland, so in itself, it's the promised land, you know what I mean? To us, the United States is the dream. The first lessons in school that we learn before we even learn about Pacific Islander culture, because it's instilled in us already, is the United States. We probably know more about the U.S. growing up than even the kids who grew up in the United States, because it's so centric on what is going on in the U.S. and not being left behind, even though we're in the middle of nowhere, So it's always been a dream. It's always been a thought to move. But again, it just seemed close, but yet so far. We get 2 flights a week from Samoa to go to Hawaii and then Hawaii to the U.S. And I mean, the cost of that alone is ridiculous,
right,
to come over. So when I had the opportunity, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it, and I was very fortunate to have a family, parents who saw the limitations of my island paradise. And
vision.
Yes. And knew that there was something more and that I was too hungry and my little island was getting way too small for my big dreams and my big aspirations.
So we interviewed Ty Rivera, who's a comic of Mexican American heritage.
Nice.
But he's from AZ, he's from Arizona.
Oh, wow.
So when he moved to LA, that in its own is its own different world and culture shock.
Right.
So when you think about Samoa and if and when you do go back, is it, I'm tied to this culture, I love it so much, but I can't live here anymore? Is that the sensation? Do you go through that battle?
You know what? I am lucky enough and very fortunate to go home every year. I go home every year because my parents are still home. And it's so funny that you say that, because even as a short while of when I had moved to the States and didn't go home again until, a year later, the air just felt different. When you jumped out of the plane, first of all, it's humid as hell. So
and you changed.
Yes.
You changed.
I was my ideas, they were just completely out of this world in comparison to my peers that were still back home. They were looking at me like, okay, first of all, I got lighter. Apparently I stayed in the house too long when I was in the States and I was fading. My color was fading.
You're driving in a car instead of walking around a beachfront.
No, so, after a couple of years of that, then my brother even came to pick me up from the airport and didn't even recognize me. He's like, dude, he passed by me and he said, And I said, hey, Felice, you know? He goes, oh my gosh, I thought, who's that white girl that just came off the plane? I'm like, wow, thanks a lot, you know? But, I mean, my speech even, I'm obviously being engrossed in the United States, your English gets better, you know, your connotations are different, even your sense of humor. Yes. So, and then your sense of humor even, you know, like you tend to, you still have Samoan. Luckily, in my formidable years, I was back home, so I still got a lot of things, but I also noticed a lot of difference when it came to the kids who grew up in the United States who are Pacific Islander and the difference for us back home, you know? And now I'm kind of stuck in the middle, right? When I go back home, I belong, but not really. And then I come to the US and I still belong, but not really. So I'm kind of in that middle ground now.
I can totally relate because, you know, I grew up in the East Coast in New York, but also lived in the Philippines. And I'm not born and raised in any specific region. I was raised in several regions of the world.
That's so awesome.
Yes. But when experiencing that, I'm so blessed that my mom and dad spoke in Filipino during the weekends. Like, nope, we're not letting go, because the most common tendency when you go west is, hey, assimilation first. And it's almost like coming from a quiet, peaceful Pacific Island background. It almost feels like you can't wear that Superman S in your chest of where you're from. In your case, Samoa. In my case, it would be a P and a C because I'm half Chinese too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Did you encounter like that trouble where it's like, wait, I gotta be American?
Okay, well, coming to the United States, I came with the opportunity of I wanted to pursue acting and entertainment, right? With that, you do have to assimilate probably more than most people. You look
mixed, by the way.
Yeah, I always
do you get that all the time?
That.
Okay,
yes.
all right, I'm being
half
fucking
the time,
typical.
half the time people think they come up to me and they start rambling off in Spanish, and all I can say is, see,
right,
you know,
right, totally. Or you look white and Asian.
Yeah, so I get either the closest to Pacific Islander is Hawaiian. They're like, you Hawaiian, especially when I have my side braid as I do today, you know, they're like,
how many masubis did you motherfucking have before you came here?
No, really.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that was good, at least. I mean, they couldn't really peg me for one or the other, you know, so I got more parts that way. But the first experience I had when I actually moved to the States was I went to Utah to visit my grandma. My grandparents live in Utah. Yeah.
From Samoa to Utah?
And that was a culture shock, even though as quiet as it was, you know, and as it is, Utah is, and it's a lot more sheltered. It was still humongous to me. And I mean, religion itself over there was really overwhelming. And the first thing that I encountered was somebody came up to me and said, oh, where are you from? And I said, oh, I'm from Samoa. And they're like, oh, so it was actually a male. And he was like, oh, so what, are you part of the SOS or the Bloods or the Crips or something? That was their first question.
And that's disconnected in so many different ways.
And I was looking at myself, I'm like, man, I forgot my do-rag, you know?
Right.
My piece. And
but for someone from Utah to say that, the disconnect.
Yeah.
The disconnect.
And so that was kind of my first experience in the U.S. I go, oh my gosh, the ignorance here is just crazy to me.
Right.
And luckily, I went beyond Utah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And your parents.
Yes. So when I actually moved away and I went to the U.S., I came to California and I even went east, and I was like, oh my gosh, the beauty of the United States is the fact that from one end to the other, it's completely different people almost, you know what I mean? I'm like, you're within different countries in the same country. And that was hard to kind of, you know, talk about assimilation. Where do you actually assimilate? You know what I mean? Because from one end to the other, like I said, it's just, they're completely different cultures.
Right. Like if they gave you a manual, it would be way easier.
Yeah.
But the figuring part of the assimilation is the tenuous process.
Mm-hmm.
Like these Mexican guys or Latin guys from Pasadena are different from the Latin guys from Granada Hills. Right, Central American. So, I mean, in that particular case, were you feeling like, I want to go back home?
There wasn't a moment in time in the first year that I just didn't want to go home. Definitely. Where I was like crying myself to sleep. Like, this is way too big. What did I get myself into? And missing home and just the comfort of it, and more of that sense of ownership, right? Where you can walk down the street and just pick a guava off a tree or a papaya.
What you know. It's what you know.
Yeah. And everybody knows each other and takes care of each other. And we really live by that. It takes a village to raise a child. And then you come to the US and I smile to someone on the street and they look at me like I'm psycho.
Right.
It's like murderer right there.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of brown. Watch out for that one.
Yeah. Seriously. She's part of the SOS, Cribs, Bloods.
Right. Totally. So after Utah, where'd you guys go?
We came to California. Yeah.
Hallelujah.
I know.
That must have been a praise the Lord moment. Jesus Christ.
I was kissing the ground for sure.
Right.
But I found very interesting how different it was going north in California and then coming south in California, and just that culture shock in between. And then in Central California, I'm like, this is the same state. This is crazy. Right. Just to experience so many different things in one state was nuts to me, because for me, in Samoa, it's an hour and a half to drive around the whole entire island going 15 miles an hour.
Right. It's like 3 times Catalina almost. Right?
Yeah. No, really, it is. And we actually did a study, and I was looking just relatively the size of Samoa compared, or at least my particular island of Tutuila, to Utah, and it took like 1,200 of my islands just to fit into the state of Utah.
Wow.
That's how tiny we are.
What's the major difference between, like, on a previous episode, I don't know if you caught virally the Haka wedding?
No,
video?
I didn't.
I'll play that in a little bit. Okay. That Haka, I don't even know how to describe it, because it's all cultural and preservation, right? It's all about preserving who you are. What's the span of the crossover? Who is that originally from? Well,
each Pacific island, or at least for Polynesians, I would say, as I don't know the vast as far as we've been so conditioned, at least for me being in radio, to say Pacific Islander, right?
Sure.
Because that's everyone.
Because it's in a goddamn credit application or a college application.
Right. Or other Pacific Islander.
Right,
Hawaiian or other. I'm just glad we even have the other. When I first moved here, it was either Asian or not even Hawaiian. It was like Asian, Asian Pacific.
For my case, asshole and Asian. Jerk off and Asian, So it's like, okay, I'm that other.
Yeah. So I was like, other, geez, but it's nice to be Pacific Islander now. No, so all of the different Polynesian islands have their own kind of war dance or welcoming dance or, battle dance, intimidation factor. But the word Haka in general, I mean, for me, I really feel like it came from, it's more in relation to New Zealand, the Maoris for Haka.
Right.
I tend to hear that more out there. In Samoa, we haven't been to war in so long, kind of just cool, laid back people now.
Right. As it should be.
Right.
Don't disturb us. We're just doing our thing.
Yeah. So, but we still use the word. I believe that the word is actually still all throughout the Polynesian islands is Haka for war dance, for battle call.
Do you find it in... I guess the term would be Pacific Island Americans, I guess, for safety's sake.
You know what? I see them really trying to hold on to something, right?
For this generation or all throughout? Because it's a different conversation. When I'm 40, Filipino Americans were quick to dissolve themselves and be encapsulated in Western culture.
See, and for Samoans, I can only speak for us.
Sure.
I noticed that the Samoans in the U.S., at least in my generation, and even as I see my nieces and nephews grow up, they are trying so hard. It's almost like,
which is good.
Yeah, they're trying really hard to the point where a lot of the things that they do aren't really authentic to what I know, at least growing up in Samoa.
Right.
You know, so it's like they're way Samoan now. And if they went back home, we look at them like, what the heck is this? It's almost like putting on blackface. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
brown face. You're
Right.
like, come on now. That's not what we do.
Oh, you're half Chinese. I love sweet and sour pork.
Yes.
I love egg
Yes.
rolls.
Or with the stereotype of, oh, you're Samoan, so are you related to Troy Polamalu? Or, you know.
Of course you are. Of course you
Yeah,
are.
or The Rock. You know, that's the only relation that they have of Samoan or Pacific Islander or
We have a
Polynesian in
Steelers
general.
fan in the house. So,
Hey, tough loss for you guys this season. I'm a Niner fan, so I'm really happy that you didn't have an opportunity to get another ring. So, oh, you're welcome, guys.
Right. But I mean, Samoan culture, it suits like rugby and football so much just due to the genetics.
Yeah, so we're either football players or gang members. Apparently, that's how we're identified. So
In like the South area of Los Angeles, like South Bay, Gardena, Hawaiian Gardens. Well, hence the term Hawaiian Gardens.
right.
But I almost feel like every culture that just migrates has to go through that. I gotta prove myself. Because in the 80s, that whole long duck dong fucking pretty in pink thing.
Oh, I know.
It's the worst fucking stereotype. Like East Indian men, they're all, smoky, big bite.
Yeah, they're all the 7-Eleven drive-through guys,
And I feel like it's taking them, it's going to be a while for them to get notoriety because they're so big in their culture, like Bollywood.
Yeah.
Speaking of that Superman-esque,
Yes.
they wear it so proudly. The Chinese are the same with cinema, so are the Spanish. But for your specific culture, is there a desire to be exposed? With Filipinos, I know we're the biggest, can I get a shout out motherfuckers out of all the Asian cultures, man.
I mean, just the singers in general. I mean, I know every Filipino family that I've ever encountered has a karaoke machine.
Yep.
They're going to be a superstar. I already know. Any
okay,
opportunity.
Lulu, this time you will perform Whitney Houston.
Yes.
Like right before you eat some lumpias.
It's like Whitney Houston, Gloria Estefan, man. It's
Something like that, right? Exactly.
It's going down for
right,
real.
right.
And if you don't, it's like, what? You don't sing? What? You're not performing? What's wrong with you?
Your parents will be mad at you. Jesus will be angry, Lulu.
Yes, no lumpias for you, for sure.
So do you think you guys are in that same catapult where you guys are yearning to be exposed, or you guys are happy?
You know what? I think when you're more exposed to the Western society and civilization, I guess you would say, they do. All of a sudden, there's those ideas of, wait, what about us? There's BET, there's Telemundo, most of the people that are acting are white. And what about Islanders? We're more than just football and army. But until then, when we're back home, that stuff isn't really important to us. I had the opportunity to actually represent my island in the Olympics, and telling my family in Samoa, they looked at me like, okay, cool, whatever. It's not really prestigious to us.
What sport?
For judo.
I love you. I'm big into martial arts. I train in jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling.
Oh, that is so awesome. I actually cross-trained in jiu-jitsu and wrestling for my judo. So.
Oh boy, we're going to go left. We are going to go left.
No. Well, no, I was talking about opportunities, right? So for me, I've been an avid reader my whole life.
Look at you flexing your radio ship, sticking to the topic. This is long form in our show, okay? Keep that in mind. But go ahead. I love that you're flexing that. Stick to the topic. Go ahead. Good old ADD Chino over here. Go ahead.
No, but with judo, that was an opportunity for me to get out of the island and actually see the world. Not just come to the U.S., but get exposed to, I got to go to Beijing, to China, where half of you is from. So that was really cool.
Dim sum and throwing people.
Yeah. Talk about the duck out there. That was what I was down for. It's like, oh, this is what real Chinese food is.
Right.
This is bomb.
Right.
But, so with because I guess my dad, it comes from, even though our environment is so much community and family and everybody disciplines everybody. My dad was at least very, very, I just want to call it like he was a genius. You know, he exposed us so much to so much of the world in a small little island that it got us curious early.
Pre-internet, by the way, for those of you who are watching and listening.
Yes, there's those things with pages that you actually.
It's called books. Right?
Yeah. Books. Library card. I don't even know.
Right, totally.
So, I mean, that was really cool. And so when the opportunities for new sports came along, judo was one of them. I did every single sport like most Polynesian kids do, you know, because that's the pastime. We don't really have TV, and there's 2 channels. It's either the Samoan news or you can only watch TV for kids, at least on Fridays, you know, for TGIF. When it finally would come on, we're probably 2 weeks behind.
Right.
And I got to go to judo, and it was an opportunity for me to spread my wings, you know, and kick some butt and have fun in the process, and then go around the world.
Did you hate it when you were first training in judo?
I loved it. So
hooked right away.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I have a lot of brothers. I have no sisters. I'm the oldest, but my brother that's right next to me, I have 4 brothers.
Same mom and dad.
And then I have 3 other brothers. So I have 7 brothers. Yeah, so lots of... Ooh. Right, but being the oldest, I mean, even though they grow bigger than me, but my brother, Malu, who is, we're only a year apart, we were the best of friends and worst of enemies. So when judo came along, he went and tried it first. He's a year younger than I am. And he comes home really excited, and he's like, you gotta go to judo with me. I'm like, what for? He goes, because we can fight and not get in trouble.
From the younger sibling.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, sold. Let's go.
Dunzo.
Yes. Because we always got in trouble. You know, we're like laughing and crying all the time. My parents are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill you guys. So the opportunity to beat each other up and not get in trouble. Come on now.
I'm going to stick to the topic. You know, this is BBC serious style. So I'm going to veer off and then I'll go back. The hardest thing for me, I trained under Judo Jean LaBelle and Gokor for like 7 months.
Nice.
The hardest thing for me was hip-centric. Like Ogoshi, though not hip-centric, the Taiotoshi was tough. But like reaping throws and sweeps was a lot easier for me.
I loved sacrifice throws. I guess it might be a female thing. I mean, I don't want to generalize, but for me at least, it felt easier to drop in and put somebody in a trap more and then do the throw that way, or couple it up, usually in combinations. Hip throws for me as a woman was definitely a lot easier, because when you're fighting with men, you know, you're going to have to get lower to the ground and use their momentum and their weight against them more than for you know what I mean? So
right. Maybe it has a lot to do with like the stand-up background. Like if I clinch, I don't go for lapels or over-unders, you know, because I have a Muay Thai background.
Oh, yes. So they actually got in the way half the time for you, or you felt restricted when there was a gi.
Right. So if I were just to grab the bicep and the tricep, you know, then I would just rather go for a sweep. And, you know, the plum in Muay Thai where you manipulate the neck, that's probably where...
And that is the same too with judo. You know, wherever the head is going is where the person's going to follow. So yeah, no, definitely.
But for some reason, I became adult dum-dum. The moment you put like a Japanese looking pajama, I was like, wait, I can grab that? You know, I couldn't.
And you almost felt like cheating, right? It's almost like cheating. You're like, wait a minute.
Like, am I going to be fighting people in robes? Are we going to be fighting at a sauna?
No.
What the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Right, when you're walking on the streets, like, whoa, I can't fight, dude. You don't have a gi on, okay?
Right.
You don't have your robe.
Is judo big in like the Samoan community?
It isn't. Actually, it just started when I started, and that was way
because of Myz Lulu.
Back.
Such a pioneer.
Oh, you know, opening doors. That's me.
Totally. You're like the Rosa Parks of judoists in Samoa. How specific and niche is that?
I
Jesus
know.
Christ.
Until they find out the story, like, oh, you just wanted to fight with your brother. That's nice.
Right, totally. But,
no, but it did grow. So now, because it was another opportunity for us to join the big world of sports, you know, so especially for females, because the biggest opportunity in Samoa to get off the island scholarship wise was football. And for us females, that's not an option, you know? So now it's opening the door for volleyball, you know, for female volleyball players. That was huge. And then when judo came along, I was like, oh, this is it's a world recognized sport. You know, you can actually go to the Olympics and represent.
It's a big opportunity if you think about it.
It's huge. And now with how big MMA is, you know, and Ronda Rousey, and she is a judo background.
Yep.
That was huge. And so to have that background growing up was really nice, you know, just to kind of be in the forefront of that, even in a small island, you know, and just a little bit of the exposure. But yeah.
So going back to Island Block.
Yes.
Okay.
My home now.
Right. And the start, it feels like it was music centric, but really you guys are talking tunes.
Yeah.
Which is its own art.
Apparently we have a lot to say.
Right. Which is great. Yeah. Because, you know, as pioneers of the internet generation, you just can't play the music, I feel. Mm-hmm. You know, when I started in radio, the first thing you think of is music. So you become a music guy.
Yes.
Back announce, front announce, promo, prize, tease.
Yes.
That was it.
Nice. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But now as I got older, when I turned like around 33, I'm 40 now, I was like, I want to talk now. I've experienced a shitload of stuff. And it just can't be the congenial, like, so what inspired you to do this record? And who was your favorite artist? Who's your favorite?
Yes.
It became so monotonous.
Mm-hmm.
Was that difficult for you guys to integrate the talking tunes aspect?
I think because we are a music-centric community, right? Society, as Pacific Islanders, everything is music. So to add talking to it, that's really tough, especially when we started to transition over to our guests, because a lot of our guests didn't really have a lot of experience in interviewing. And as a people, we tend to not talk about ourselves.
Sure.
You know, like we don't know how to do that. And it's frowned upon, you know, we're looked at as...
You're braggadocious.
Yes, we're absolutely I love that. Braggadocious, yes. And you looked at as conceited, and it's definitely a negative thing to be talking about yourself. And so it was more of like a teaching thing for us as well, was telling them like, hey, it's okay. You know, here are the questions. Let's practice this. It's not talking about yourself. We're more like exposing you, you know, and nobody knows about you yet. And so how the hell are you supposed to sell CDs if you're not gonna,
Right.
if you're not going to let people know about you? So that was more of the difficult aspect. And for us, it was definitely a transitional phase too, because all I think about when I thought of radio, especially not coming from a radio background, is the fact that, yes, it's just music. You know, I'm listening to all the disc jockeys talk, you know, or
which becomes your influence, which is deadly sometimes.
Yes, because then you're bigger than life, right? The fact that I came from an acting background was really awesome, because I got to play different characters, which was nice, but you have to be over the top half of the time, because you have you, and then you have your radio personality, who you have to still create a visual for your listeners, you know? And the problem was when we had our guests who are Pacific Islander, because we're so Pacific Islander centric in our shows, it was like, what was it? I always think
right?
Yes, it was pulling teeth. And it's like that movie, Fifth Element, you know, with Chris Tucker, and Bruce Willis Chris Tucker was this over the top host. Correct. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're so great. Like, tell us about it. Yeah. You know?
Right. Like, it's cool.
Yeah. And you're going,
what else?
Okay. It's great. I was like, and we always would ask him beforehand, it's like, you have to elaborate, you know, not try your best not to have one word answers. But then on top of it, it also made us conscious of asking questions that didn't prompt just a yes or no.
Well, but to your defense, because now we're talking like radio ship here, you know, for you who's listening, who's watching, you could ask something like, what was the recording process like for this album? Which is open-ended, right?
Right.
And they just go, it was fantastic.
Yeah, you're right. So
to your defense, dude, Jose and I were talking, for you who's listening, Jose is my camera op and producer.
And a Steeler fan, apparently.
Right, apparently, right. We were talking about like one DJ, a legendary DJ, which I'm not going to name.
Got it.
For being appropriate. Like I would ask like open-ended questions, but he went film all over the place. It was terrible. Where thank God I'm long form centric. I go, you know what? This next half, I'm gonna fucking drive. Yeah. I'm gonna cut this dude off, and I'm gonna steer. And that's a big problem with the internet and age where you and I were talking at the Traklife photo shoot. Mm-hmm. You know, because it's the cowboy wild, wild west. Yeah. Now we can do everything.
Anything goes. Right. It's a no hold bar for sure.
And we can do anything. And it's up to you and I. Thankfully, I interned for 2 years straight.
Wow, that's
working
awesome.
For free in my 30s.
Oh my
for free.
Yeah. There's that moment in silence we can totally take. We're like,
right. That fucking bell ring, you know, bum. You know, but I felt like Gollum from Lords of the Rings. It was like, I was so tired and exhausted and I was so disconnected. Because you're working full time and you're putting in a minimum of 30 free hours.
Right.
And you're getting treated like shit. I've had a producer throw a sandwich at me. He waited because there was like.
And he's still alive?
No, it was just, but you know, from the Pacific Island culture, tying back to the previous segment, you know.
At least tell me that producer was older than you.
This guy was so tight and amazing on the board. Oh. This guy was so dope.
And he didn't live outside of it.
Right. Basically, there was an OEM light that was on from a previous guy recording. He voice tracked like a quick drop. Mm-hmm. I saw it. I should have known to remove it. But you leave because you get called, you come back. So there was like probably, and I'm probably giving myself way too much credit, no more than a 2-second gap from commercial to commercial. I thought that was pretty quick.
That's
2-second
really
gap, right?
Quick.
So I just remember, it's that fucking Channel 8. Boom, went in. The moment all the commercials were playing and I segged into the bumper to the music, the moment I was like at least 3 to 4 feet away from the board,
yes,
he threw an open sandwich at me. And he was like, are you fucking serious about this shit? The fuck is wrong with you, man? Are you about this radio shit or not?
Wow.
What are you trying to do? This ain't about you. You saw that shit. Like, cursed me out in front of like 2 people, but still, I mean.
Initially, did you know what he was talking about?
Yeah, I completely knew. I completely knew. But, you know, to make it congruent to our conversation, when you get trained, there's a system. So if you fuck up, you're aware that you're fucking up and you know what to do. But the good and the bad with the internet is you just do it.
Yeah.
You just do it.
There's no discipline, right?
No, none. Mm-hmm. And if not everyone can say I've done radio, but you've just done college radio. You ain't doing shit right. Until you get someone fucking to tell you what the fuck to do.
Yeah, throwing sandwiches at you.
Right, but did you guys encounter? I mean, it was
my only experience is in internet, so I don't have the experience that you have. I mean, It's sad and it's
no, it's not. It's a different time. It's
right.
a different time.
Right, but there's certain things that I wish I knew. You know what I mean? Like in regular radio. I mean, to say regular, but
well, if we collab on more episodes,
that'd be great.
The black belt techniques.
I'm ready for an open face sandwich, dude.
Just make sure you have mozzarella, Italian.
I'll just take it as a free lunch. That's right. Very generous.
I won't throw like barbecue sauce or meatball marinara. That's
and be Samoan. Are you kidding me? Food in my face? That's like
spam and Japanese rice.
It's like a proposal.
Right. Yeah, man. But
that's crazy. I wouldn't know what to do in your shoes. I honestly think I would have killed him on the spot.
Yeah. You know, Zach, our other co-host, he was at Fox Sports. Sorry, Zach, I'm gonna put your story on blast.
Oh yeah, hi Zach.
Yeah. So, basically, what he encountered was, you know, people just talking down to him. You know, and I think it's good for discipline.
It's like radio military. It sounds like.
Well, especially if they know the moment that you want to be talent, it's on.
Oh, wow.
If they know that, he wants to be a board op as a technical producer, for some reason they just groom you into technicality. But if it's a major market station, it's like, here we go, fucko. You want to be talent, huh? Let's see what you got. But you guys are now on Dash Radio also.
Yes. It's really awesome. It's really awesome. The transition was so fast, I think, for us. And I think that's because of the fact that it's brand new, right? Internet is that wild, wild west. And so things move a little bit faster, I think it is what it is. Because then the word gets out and it's like wildfire, right? It's like, well, we can do that too. And we have the backing to be able to do that bigger and better, and coming from the little garage, literally,
right.
the barbecue show, into that thought of, oh, well, we want to be an umbrella company, you know, and have our own station eventually. And for it to happen so fast for us was huge, you know.
I think great things happen in that momentum.
Yeah. I think great things could happen, and in that momentum as well, a lot of bad things can happen too, because the growth is so fast. You know what I mean? It's like going through puberty for a lot of my brothers, at least watching them, and they get lanky and they don't know what the hell left hand to the right hand is doing, and how you move your right foot, you know?
Right.
So, and we're learning on the spot, you know, really, really fast. And I feel like sometimes the sandwich is being thrown at my face, you know, because you have to create. Right. You're wearing so many different hats because it is a startup, and there's no set titles. You know what I mean? There's no set responsibilities. It's like you see where we're lacking and you have to pick up the slack and figure it out. If you don't know what the hell you're doing, you're going to read something or go research someone and just make it happen, sink or swim. So that's definitely the growing pains that comes with it. So great things and definitely some trial things.
So everyone knows about, obviously, the judoka in Myz Lulu, the migratory background that you displayed so well.
Thank you.
The radio ship, the actress, and the matriculation to being with the Island Block Network.
Yes.
You have your own show.
I do.
Let's talk about that. We're barely starting the interview, just so you know. This is if you guys can hang an hour, you know, we're at 43, so, or 44.
Well,
or
if there's something that Steelers can do, is they can hang around.
Oh, sure. Sure.
They can go the distance.
Sure,
I know
absolutely.
No, yes, I do have my own show, and it's so funny that today is actually my 1-year anniversary.
Oh my God, I feel so blessed to talk about that.
No, thank you.
That's a great thing.
Oh yeah.
To celebrate it on another radio show and talk about radio and yourself. That be in the moment. That's amazing.
No, it was really awesome. Joe Sav, you know, from the barbecue show, and the founder of Island Block and Q, they texted me early this morning. He's like, "Hey, happy 1-year anniversary!" And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much."
That's amazing. What timing?
Yeah. So my show, going back, it's Lip Service, where we're servicing everybody. That's what we do on Lip Service. And our focus is, or at least what I want to portray with Lip Service is, I wanted to expose more of Pacific Islander athletes, right? In a certain segment, but then also talk about, I have a segment called The Status, where we talk more, at least for the Pacific Islander culture, more taboo things, which is not really taboo in the US. You know, that's things that you talk about every day and you're exposed to constantly with reality TV. And even when I visited a grade school in America when I first came out here, they were talking about, you know, what goes on in your body. Like, I don't even remember what grade. It was like somewhere like third or no, it was like 7th grade, right? Like going through puberty, and there was like pictures of little penises and stuff. He's like, this is what happens when you're, you know, feeling like, I'm like, what the hell?
And then when the man likes you, the pee-pee gets angry. And then the screenshot gets bigger, right?
And then all these pictures of STDs come through.
And then I prefer without hair.
Yeah, you're right.
This is a braided reggae artist.
Right. It's like, And when, you know, older guy comes to you and you say no means no. I'm like,
right.
All these really explicit. It was like porn to me watching it, because in Samoa, you just don't talk about it. I remember the first time, I'm going to be pretty graphic, but first time I ever had my period, I didn't know what the hell that I was dying. I'm bleeding from a no spot, and this is it. I'm done. Life is over.
Did you grab notebook paper from in school and water?
Yes, seriously.
And then start changing your walk. You start walking like you just fucking pulled the pelvic bone or something.
No, I mean, like I can't even cross my legs hard enough. You know what I mean? The shit is still going on, and then the worst part is my dad comes up to me. I mean, I confide in my mom, like, Mom, I love you. I'm dying. You know, like,
it's happening.
I guess this is it. God is calling me home.
There's Red Niagara Falls.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know how I cut myself down there, but shit ain't stopping. Right. And my mom was like crying out of happiness. And I'm looking at this lady like she's crazy, because we don't discuss that shit. You know, if you don't have older cousins, girl cousins, and I grew up in a family of men in the jungle, which, you know, nobody talks about it, and it's just supposed to be understood. And so then I'm embarrassed as hell, and my mom like just takes me to the store. I'm like, okay, so apparently this is normal, you know. And I go about my business. I come home, and my dad comes through the door, and he starts hugging me. And I'm like, oh shit, what the hell did I do? You know, this is a trap for sure. And he's like, so you're a woman now? And I'm embarrassed. I'm looking at my mom with daggers. I'm like, how could you tell him that I'm, you know?
Imagine if her dad had Instagram. Oh, take a picture. Take a picture. Okay, face this.
Seriously.
My daughter is a woman now.
It's like, look, 3 pads filled. She's a keeper though.
Right. You know, it's just... Thank God we didn't have social media back then.
I can't even.
Thank fucking God.
Well, and then you know, with the poor kids, you know, when they had spots on the chair and there's like all those embarrassing moments, be so over. Like, there would be so much more suicide, I think, in the islands for sure.
Imagine Bloods and Cribs tagging each other. I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Jerron. Tyrone at mention.
Yeah.
At mention. Puppet.
Oh my gosh. It was, sucked balls, literally.
Or
it was terrible.
Ovaries.
Yeah, or ovaries.
Just stick to the context, Lulu.
You're right.
What the fuck?
God, what am I thinking
Come on,
about? I wanted balls. That's what I wanted.
I was gonna give you a break. Let's cylindrical balls, ovaries. Okay.
Yes, I needed balls. I was like done with the ovaries. I'm like, trade them in, buddy.
Totally.
I think I've always had penis envy my whole life. We're totally going left field.
No, that's the beauty of the Joe Rogan, Opie and Anthony Howard Stern stuff.
Oh yes.
That's the beauty. I'm shocked that it took this long for people to go, Howard Stern had the formula.
Genius.
Let it be organic. Let it be fun. Let it be serious. Let it be happy. Get to know the person, and then converse.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, I can't give enough praise to him, because a lot of people will think like, oh, she had a chick on a speaker and turned up the speaker and it was humming into it, and she busted a nut that way.
Hey, that was one of the first experiences I had about a female orgasm. I'm like, shit, that's where that thing is, you know? Imagine
if we had the internet then.
Oh,
how much more savvier we would be.
Yeah.
You know? So your show.
Yes.
Is there an evolving process behind it?
Definitely, because it's only been a year, and even in the beginning parts of it, we had exchanged out certain segments because we tried it out and it didn't quite get the response that we wanted. But for me, my biggest segments, were are the Pacific Islander athletes exposure, and then also status, which we have a therapist, the lovely Diana Vogel,
which I met.
Yes, she's awesome. Where we give real life topics and we talk about it, you know, and for us Pacific Islanders, it's a lot of the no things. So I've actually gotten a lot of controversial responses because of it, especially from my aunts, my older family members, and then also older Pacific Islanders in general who just are are a little shocked that we would talk about it, so openly. And for me, that is exactly what I wanted. And so it's a success in my
good for you, man.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we have periods and we're proud of it.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So I mean, that's been a bit of the trial right there, is the fact that we tend to walk the line, and be on the edge when it comes to talking about personal issues and really bringing it out, and at the same time still trying to make it entertaining and to keep the interest, but I think when you talk about controversial things in a community, it tends to be entertaining in itself, whether you don't want to listen to it or you do. It'll happen.
But that's a great reel.
Yeah.
To reel them in.
Yeah, it is. And I really believe in that. Bad publicity, good publicity, it's all still publicity, which is really great, because you'll never be able. I'm really finding out that you can't please everybody, and you shouldn't.
And fuck them.
Yeah.
We have a microphone, and it's about finding your people. The biggest mistake programmers do is try to control the talent. In this wild, wild west, our microphone, this is our method of like sending the bat signal.
Yeah.
And if programmers tell you no, like if Dash said, no, but can you play more hip hop and trap music? That would be the biggest failure.
I agree.
You know how many times I know people without experience who are like, oh, Charles, you're too vulgar, or don't do this or don't do that. It's like, no, we're at a talk channel. And programmers don't realize that. And thank God for you guys that Ski, or who did you guys come into contact with?
It was actually Ski.
Good for him to understand that.
He was so awesome. I mean, we stalked him for quite a while. But
as you should.
The fact that he gave us his personal number and was really willing to listen and saw something in us was huge. I mean, not only that he is who he is, but the fact that he's white, and I hate to say that, but it's
from
true.
Minnesota.
Yeah. So he's
from fucking Minnesota.
But he's white and we're brown. And to have that opportunity and to step into the same world per se is a small accomplishment.
And good for him.
Yeah. No, he was great. And that's because of the exposure that he had and all the people that are around him as well. And just the ideas that he's fearless to try new things, and it's great.
My love, can you do 8 more minutes?
I would love 8 more minutes.
8 more minutes. Okay, here we go.
Well, okay.
Normally my reputation is all I need is 2 minutes.
Hey, 2 minutes in heaven is better than 1 minute in heaven.
Right. And then she'll start nagging. Why do you still live with your brother?
Oh, jeez.
Why do you have an old SUV?
Oh. Hey, if it still runs.
Why are you still pursuing this radio thing? Why do you two use so much gel?
Oh, really? Hey.
I'm sorry, my issues just
I know, that's great. Let's talk about it.
So much issues. So much issues. My God. So much issues.
Oh, man.
But from a single person's perspective, so how long have you been married?
This is going on my 3rd year.
3rd year.
Yes.
What's changed from... I won't even go in the chronological typical order, like how'd you meet him, blah, blah, blah. What's changed from the moment, or not from the moment, from that period when you guys became married?
Well, we fart a lot more in front of each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. No.
Yeah, totally.
We're actually competing now.
How's the mac and cheese and asshole air?
Yeah, seriously. Right, I was like, ooh, baby, you had some sour cream and onion chips. And
Right. That's some Filipino duck eggs.
Yes, seriously. Yeah. You went to Thai food without me. Right, damn you. No.
Right. Right.
We are very lucky in the sense that we are best friends. So I really recommend. I know. Well, that's usually what I say when he walks through the door, so it helps out a lot.
Right.
No, but
that's when you hide the knives and clean the sheath. Yeah. Right.
No, he's we're best friends, and so we really enjoy each other's company. And I was worried that a lot of my friends who have been married for a while, or my older. Because in Samoa, we don't really show affection. That's not our thing. You know what I mean? We don't do public PDA. It's very frowned upon.
Wow.
Yes. It's frowned upon. I mean, you never see you never hear a term of endearment in Samoa with your significant other.
What?
Yeah, you don't say babe, honey, that kind
What?
of stuff in public. Yeah. Yeah, it's not very, our sense of, we don't really say I love you.
It's so Chinese almost. It's Joy Luck Clubbish.
Yeah. We don't.
Let's write a script. Joy Luck Club 2.
We should.
The coconut pickers.
The coconut.
Instead of the rice pickers, you guys had your shit. The coconut pickers.
Yes.
We'll talk about Filipino passive aggressiveness.
Yeah.
Lack of PDA in the Samoan culture, and how you consume your coconut versus our coconut.
Yes. So when you talk about 2 minutes, it's like no. No,
But
really.
it's
So
the
there's
best 2 minutes.
Exactly. I mean, that's all you need. We got to do shit. You know what I mean?
Right,
There's
right.
only so many hours in the day. So with that, he grew up in Orange County. I grew up in Samoa. So meshing the two, I think, really helped us out, where I am a lot stronger in public when it comes to, or I guess I'm more aggressive in the sense of standing up for us, you know, and then also kind of keeping him at bay with the whole
You're a radio
shit.
person too, so let me guess, this girl's in radio, right? So you got to be
Right, but with him, he comes from that Orange County mentality, and a shout out to Orange County, generalize all y'all right now, but
OC.
Yeah, the OC in the bubble.
Right.
But I mean, there are some hold hands type of people, you know, kissing in public and everything is a reality show in a sense. So TMZ is probably their best friend. I mean, they're looking at it.
Ugg boots and Corvettes too. Newport Beach is like that.
Like their hair is perfect and they're walking around in pajamas. I mean, just happens.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So that was hard for us in the beginning because, I mean, I come from, you know, Samoa, which is like, you don't even know you're with someone. You know what I mean? Nobody knows that you're with so-and-so. That shit just doesn't come out.
Are you pregnant? No.
Yeah.
No.
Whose child is that? 9 months later.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's just this grass skirt looks a little big.
Yeah, just a little bit. I've gained weight. I'm fat, you bastard.
Right.
No, so because we found like that common ground where he's taught me to be a lot more affectionate. I mean, I'm an affectionate person in general, but when it comes to relationships, it's because it's so instilled in us, right? It's frowned upon in my culture. But for him, he opened that up for me. And so it's the change, I think, is just being more comfortable with each other and kind of really setting in, but still realizing that for me, it's a little different because he travels. He's a musician. So I always told myself that I would never marry. Well, first of all, I would never marry was one of my first things. I swear he drugged me, and that's we've moved past it.
You.
It was actually 3 minutes. That's what got me. I was like, what? There's more than 2 minutes.
Another
in this
60 seconds of pleasure? What the fuck?
And the 1 minute is just for me.
Right,
Shit.
right.
Sold.
Done.
Take it. You
Done.
know, 10 cow wife right here. I got you.
Beautiful.
So, him traveling is tough for me because growing up around people always left for the military. I just never saw myself doing that. And I come from a broken home, so marriage in general was a negative connotation in my mind.
So do I. My mom was the other woman for the longest time.
Wow.
And I have a ton of issues. That's why I'm the most verbose Asian guy I know. Because just between East Coast, Asia, moving around, it's the toughest fucking thing.
Wow, I can't even imagine. I mean, it's tough enough. I felt like my family was, when I finally watched Jerry Springer, I'm like, yes!
That's me. That's me. Maury Povich ain't shit. That's my life light.
No,
that's
for real.
Diet Charles.
I was actually thinking, I'm like, could I sue this guy? You know, like
totally.
I think he stole my story.
Totally. You can start going to Safeway buying DNA tests.
Yes.
Right. You know?
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. So, I never thought about getting married, and then he came along, changed my mind, and here we are now. And the whole traveling thing is what is tough. Both being in entertainment is really hard. You know, I've always been kind of more of the outspoken one in any of my relationships, and there were very few, to be honest. And then he came along, and he's in entertainment.
Few that you reveal.
Yeah.
Because judo and horny is synonymous. Hello.
Hello, mat work is my favorite. Come on.
Exactly. Nawaza all day, right?
So, I mean, that's the biggest change right now.
That's for the judo jiu-jitsu people, by the way. Mat work.
Yeah, the biggest change I think is because his career is really flourishing. He's a part of Common Kings. Shout out to Common Kings. They actually just left yesterday to go to their headline tour in New Zealand and Australia. So with that comes a lot more traveling.
Sure.
Yeah, and a lot more time apart, which is, you know, that bullshit that people say that distance makes the heart grow fonder. No. That's a fucking lie. No. Okay.
Makes you want to fuck each other more.
Yeah, we get really creative. Which is a good thing, right? I mean, thank God for FaceTime. We probably wouldn't be together if it was only still letters.
You know what? Get 3 iPhones and change up the angles.
I've already tried. I got 3 tripods.
Just don't Periscope.
Yeah,
Just don't Periscope.
It's like, whoa, nice moves. I'm like, why are all these comments and hearts coming through?
Right.
This thing?
Faster.
I know.
I was gonna go there, but get a close up.
Yeah, some more changes that I want to happen. We're going to be making molds of each other. So
right, like when he's tired mold.
Yeah,
when he's on Viagra mold.
Cuddle
Whiskey
mode. Come on.
Oh, cuddle. That's right. That's
right. The boyfriend pillow. Have you seen that?
No.
There's like this. I think China made it. Of course.
Of course. It's either them or the Indians. They fucking breed so much.
God, it was crazy. It's like it's a pillow and then it has an arm come around it. It's the boyfriend pillow where it's like cuddling with you. A genius. I need
what
one.
A culturalist you are. When our talk segments, this is what I dig for to talk about.
Oh my God, it's crazy. Now we just need the bottom pillow. Come on now.
Right. Right. The bottom
the leg
pillow.
Entangling, that's necessary.
That's
sure.
true.
The third leg. Yeah.
That's true. Man. I love this part of Lulu.
Oh, yeah. Hey, lip service. We're servicing everybody.
Right,
okay?
right. Totally.
All aspects of Myz Lulu right here.
I feel like we could talk for hours.
I think so too. You're awesome.
No, you're awesome. I just ask questions and you do your thing. So,
which is actually the harder part. A lot of people don't realize that asking questions is actually really hard, and
connecting
and steering the conversation and being that guy's like, oh my gosh,
and making it a conversation. Yes. Like the biggest thing for you who are new to radio, but like talking about veteran radio shit from the 80s. The moment your guests ask questions about you, that is your cum blast right there. That is the panacea. Mm-hmm. That is Siddhartha bouncing around with her multiple arms, or him, depending on which interpretational deity you see Siddhartha as. I don't know how I talked about cum blast and Siddhartha in one sentence, but it worked.
I thought it was a great connection.
But radio ship, thank you. Radio ship is when you get 2 hosts together, it's magic. It's always magic. And I love that. You know, it's just when you get to share and it's organic and natural and it's not necessarily, probably unadulterated would be the wrong term, but it's just honest.
Yeah.
As simple and copacetic as that sounds, that's the only way to do radio. I feel.
I agree. And just when you're so comfortable to be able to open up to each other, we don't know each other that well, no. But yet to be comfortable enough to talk about menstrual cycles and boyfriend pillows and
totally
more than 2 minutes. That's humongous.
And that's just your end.
I know. And that's just me.
Right. That's just you. So maybe one of these days we could do another one.
Yes, where I get to ask you a lot of the questions.
and I don't know, we'll talk off mic just as an audio tease.
Ooh, I like that.
See that?
Little foreplay.
So there's more coming, a mental foreplay and audio foreplay for you, but there should be more coming up with Charlie Love So and Myz Lulu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.